Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank y'all for joining me. We continue on reading. We left off at line 290. We'll pick up Canto 3, The House of Spirits, and the New Creation. A universal vision that unites, a sympathy of nerve replying to nerve, hearing that listens to thought's inner sound, and follows the rhythmic meanings of the heart, a touch that needs not hands to feel, to clasp. Where were there the native means of consciousness and heightened the intimacy of soul with soul, a grand orchestra of spiritual powers, a diapason of soul interchanged, harmonized, a oneness deep, immeasurable. In these new worlds projected, he became a portion of the universal gaze, a station of the all-inhabiting light, a ripple on a single sea of peace. His mind answered to countless communing minds. His words were syllables of the cosmos' speech. His life a field of the vast cosmic stir. He felt the footsteps of a million wills, moved in unison to a single goal, a stream ever new born that never dies, caught in its thousandfold current ravishing flow, with eddies of immortal sweetness thrilled, he bore coiling through his members as they passed, calm movements of interminable delight, the bliss of a myriads who are one in this vast outbreak of perfection's law, imposing its fixity on the flux of things. He saw a hierarchy of lucent planes in Theoft to the highest kingdom of God's state, attuning to one truth their own right rule, each house the gladness of a bright degree, alone in beauty, perfect in self-kind, an image cast by one deep truth's absolute, married to all in happy difference, each gave its power to help its neighbor's parts, but suffered no diminution by the gifts. Profiteers of a mystic interchange, they grew by what they took and what they gave. All others they felt as their own complements. One in the might and joy of multitude, even in the poise where oneness draws apart to feel the rapture of its separate selves. The soul in its solitude yearned towards the all, and the many turned to look back at the one, and all revealing, all creating bliss, seeking the forms to manifest truths divine, aligned in their significant mystery, the gleam of the symbols of the ineffable blazoned like hues upon a colorless air, on the white purity of the whiteness soul. These hues were the very prism of the Supreme. His beauty, power, delight, creation's cause, a vast truth consciousness took up these signs to pass them on to some divine child heart that looked on them with laughter and delight, and joyed in these transcendent images, living and real as the truths they house. The spirit's white neutrality became a playground of miracles, a rendezvous for the secret powers of a mystic timelessness. In a space of marble house of God, it poured through time its works of ageless might, unveiled, seeing as alluring, rapturous force, the wonder and beauty of its love and force. The eternal goodness moved in her cosmic house, sporting with God as a mother with her child. To him the universe was her bosom of love. Goodness. His toys were the immortal verities, and here self-lost had there its divine place. The powers that here betray our hearts and air were the sovereign in truth, perfect in joy. Mastering a creation without flaw, possessors of their own infinitude, Their mind a splendid sun in a vision's rays, shaped substance by the glory of its thoughts, and moved amidst the grandeur of its dreams, imagination's great ensorceling rod, summoned the unknown and gave it a home. Outspread, luxuriant in golden air, truth's iris-colored wings of fantasy, or sang to the intuitive heart of joy, wanders, dreams, notes that bring the real close, its power that makes the unknowable real and true. In the temple of the ideal shrine, the one it peopled thought and mind and happy sense filled with bright aspects of the might of God and living persons of the one supreme, the speech that voices the ineffable, the ray revealing unseen presences, the virgin forms through which the formless shines. The word that ushers divine experience and the ideas that crowd the infinite. There was no gulf between the thought and fact. Ever they replied like bird to calling bird. They will obey the thought, the act, the will. The will obeyed the thought, the act, the will. There was a harmony woven twixt soul and soul, a marriage with eternity divinized time. Their life pursued, unwearied of her sport, joy in her heart, and laughter on her lips. You want to go outside, Piggy Needles? The bright adventure of God's game of chance and her ingenious ardor of caprice and her transfiguring in her transfiguring mirth, she mapped on time, a fascinating puzzle of events, lured at each turn by new vicissitudes, to self-discovery that could never cease. Ever she framed stark bonds for the will to break, brought new creations for the thought's surprise and passionate ventures for the heart to dare, where truth recurred with unexpected face or else repeated old familiar joy, like the return of a delightful rhyme at hide and seek of a mother's wisdom's breast, an artist teeming with her world idea. She never could exhaust its numberless thoughts, a vast adventure of thinking shapes and trial and lure of new things, of new living dreams, untried of sameness and untried of change. Endless she unrolled her moving act, a mystery drama of divine delight, a living poem of world ecstasy, a kakemono of significant forms, a kakemono, K-A-K-E-M-O-N-O, of significant forms, a coiled perspective of developing scenes, a brilliant chase of self-revealing shapes, an ardent hunt of soul looking for soul, a seeking and a finding as of God's. Their matter is the spirit's firm density and artistry of glad outwardness of self, a treasure house of lasting images where sense can build a world of pure delight. At home of a perpetual happiness, it lodged the hours as in a pleasant inn. The senses there were outlets of the soul. Even the youngest child thought of the mind incarnate some touch of highest things. Their substance was a resonant harp of self, a net for the constant lightnings of the spirit, a magnet power of love's intensity, whose yearnings throb and adorations cry, drew God's approach close, sweet, wonderful. In solidity was a mass of heavenly make, its fixity a sweet permanence of charm, made a bright pedestal for felicity, its bodies woven by a divine sense prolonged the nearness of a soul's clasp with soul. Its warm play of external sight and touch reflected the glow and thrill of the heart's joy. Minds climbing brilliant thoughts and spirits bliss, like life's rapture kept forever its flame and cry. All that now passes lived immortal there, in the proud beauty and fine harmony of matter, plastic to spiritual light. It ordered hours, proclaimed the eternal laws, visioned, reposed on a safety of deathless forms. Time was eternity's transparent robe, an architect hewing out self's living rock. Phenomenon built reality's summer house on the beaches of the sea of infinity. I'm going to take a quick break and some water. We continue on. Against this glory of spiritual states, their parallels and yet their opposites floated and swayed, eclipsed and shadow-like, as if a doubt made substance flickering pale. This other scheme, two vast negations found, a world that knows not its inhabiting self, labors to find its cause and need to be, a spirit ignorant of the world it made, obscured by matter, travestied by life, struggles to emerge, to be free, to know and reign. These were close tied in one disharmony, yet the divergent lines met not all. Three powers governed its irrational course. In the beginning, an unknowing force; in the middle, an embodied, striving soul; in its end, a silent spirit denying life. A dull and felicitous interlude unrolls its dubious truth to a questioning mind, compelled by the ignorant power to play its part and record her inconclusive tale, the mystery of her inconscient plan, and the riddle of a being born from night by a marriage of necessity with chance. This darkness hides our nobler destiny, a chrysalis of a great and glorious truth. It stifles the winged marvel in its sheath, lest from the prison of matter it escape, and wasting its beauty on the formless vast, merged into the unknowable mystery, leave unfulfilled the world's miraculous fate. As yet, though thought only some high spirit's dream or a vexed illusion in man's toiling mind, a creation from the old shall rise, a knowledge inarticulate finds speech, beauty suppressed bursts into paradise bloom, pleasure and pain dive into the absolute bliss. A tongueless oracle shall speak at last, the superconscient conscious growth on earth. The eternal's wonders join the dance of time, but now all seem vainly teeming vast, upheld by a diluted energy. To a spectator, self-absorbed, Rocco, chill out. Tell him, chill out, Piggy. Tell him, Piggy. The superconscious eternal's wonders join the dance of time, but now all seem vainly teeming vast, upheld by diluted energy. To a spectator, self-absorbed and mute, careless of the unmeaning show he watched, regarding the bizarre procession pass, like one who waits for an expected end, he saw a world that is from a world to be. There he divided rather than saw or felt. Far off upon the rim of consciousness, transient and frail, this little whirring globe, and on it left like a lost dream's vain mold, a fragile copy of the spirit's shell, his body gathered into mystic sleep, a foreign shape it seemed, a mystic shade. Line 500. Alien now seemed that dim far universe, self and eternity alone were true. Then memory climbed to him from the striving plains, bringing a cry from once loved cherished things, and to the cry as to its own lost call, a ray replied from the occult supreme, for even there the boundless oneness dwells, to its own sight unrecognizable, It lived still sunk in its own tenebrous seas, upholding the world's inconscient unity, hidden in matter's insentient multitude. This seed, self-sown in the intermediate, in the indeterminate, forfeits its glory of divinity, concealing the omnipotence of its force, concealing the omniscience of its soul. An agent of its own transcendent will, it merges knowledge of the inconscient deep. Accepting error, sorrow, death, and pain, it pays the ransom of the ignorant night, redeeming by its substance nature's fall. Himself he knew, and why his soul had gone into earth's passionate obscurity to share the labor of an errant power by which division hopes to find the one. Two beings he was, one wide and free above, one struggling bound intense its portion here. A tie between them still could bridge two worlds. There was a dim response to a distant breath. All had not ceased in the unbound hush. His heart lay somewhere consciousness and alone, far down below him like a lamp in night. Abandoned, it lay alone, imperishable, immobile, with excess of passionate will. His living sacrificed and offered heart, absorbed in adoration's mystical, turned to its far-off fount of light and love. It's in the luminous stillness of its mute appeal. It looked up to the heights it could not see. It yearned for the longing depths it could not leave. In the center of its vast and fateful trance, halfway between his free and fallen selves, interceding twixt God's day and the mortal's night, accepting worship as its single law, accepting bliss as the sole cause of things, refusing the austere joy which none can share, refusing the calm that lives for calm alone. To her it turned, for whom it will to be. In the passion of its solitary dream, it lay like a closed, soundless oratory where sleeps a consecrated argent floor, lit by a single and untrembling ray, and an invincible presence kneels in prayer. In some deep breast of liberating peace, all else was satisfied with quietude. This only knew where truth beyond. This only knew there was a truth beyond. All of the parts were dumb in centered sleep, consenting to slow, deliberate power, which tolerates the world's error and its grief, consenting to a cosmic long delay, timeless waiting through the patient years. Her coming they had asked for earth and men. This was the fiery point that called her now. Extinction could not quench that lonely fire. Its seeing filled the blank of mind and will, and thought dead its chainless force abode and grew, armed with the intuition of a bliss. To touch with some move, tranquility was the key. It preserved through life's huge emptiness amid the blank denials of the world. It sent its voiceless prayer to the unknown. It listened for the footsteps of its hopes. Returning through the void immensities, it waited for the fiat of the word that comes through the still self from the supreme. Period. End of Canto 13. No, end of Canto 3. Next is Canto 4, The Vision and the Boon. Hope y'all are enjoying this as much as I am. Sending out healing, love, and light. We're all one. Todos somos uno. Muy bien. Victory to the divine light. Love always wins. Talk to y'all soon. Talk at y'all soon.